Welcome to Cat and Jess Talk the Best, where we're going to be talking about IMDb's top 250 movies from April 12th, 2018. My name is Kat.
And I'm Jess.
And today we're talking about number 240, The Best Years of Our Lives, which is a drama, romance, war film from 1946. This movie has an 8.1 on 50,559 votes. And this synopsis is pretty short. A memorable film about the aftermath of World War II in the United States. This film opens with the homecoming of 3 veterans to the same small town. The movie exposes the reality of altered lives and the inability to communicate the experience of war on the front lines or the home front.
That's a good synopsis of it.
Yeah.
It's really good.
And it's short, too. All of the other ones that I take from Rotten Tomatoes are so long.
This one's short and sweet to the point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I feel like I need to write my own based on the Rotten Tomatoes one and the IMDb one.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Because the Rotten Tomatoes one tends to be too long.
Agreed. Alright, so, director. Yeah, director William Wyler. He's directed a lot of big films. A couple on our list. Ben-Hur.
Mm-hmm.
This film, Best Years of Our Lives. Roman Holiday. And Funny Girl.
I've never heard of Funny Girl. I've heard of the other ones.
Funny Girl has Barbra Streisand in it. It's kind of like a musical. So, actors. We got Myrna Lowe. Dana Andrews, which is a male.
Yep.
As a male. And Frederick March. Those are your top 3 billed. So.
Okay. Oh, I'm on the wrong page.
Whoops.
Okay. So, Rotten Tomatoes. The average rating was an 8.6. This has 96% on 48 critical reviews, 46 fresh, and 2 rotten. An engrossing look at the triumphs and travails of war veterans. The Best Years of Our Lives is concerned specifically with the aftermath of World War II, but its message speaks to the overall American experience.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that.
Yep, I would agree. Alright, so the budget for this movie was $2.1 million. And the gross in the United States was $23,650,000. I didn't want to do math, so the gross worldwide was... Well, because normally it does it for me. I'm not bad at math. I'm really good at math. I just was so tired when I was doing this. I was ready to go to bed. And I was talking to like 3 people at the same time I was doing this, so I wasn't focusing either. But normally it gives me the gross US, the gross international, and the gross worldwide. But this time it only gave me the US and the worldwide, and I didn't want to do math. So
Yeah, it's good.
The gross worldwide was $44,309,982. And the highest all-time rank it has been is number 84. And its all-time domestic rank is 3,045. So that's where it's at on the list right now. Of, I guess, ratings or something like that. It won 14 awards. 7 of them were Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
So, the first Oscar that it won was the honorary award for bringing hope and courage to his fellow veterans through his appearance in The Best Years of Our Lives. Harold Russell, which he was...
It's Homer. Yep.
Oh, okay.
That's in my notes.
Oh, okay, because of his hands. Gotcha.
Yes. Well,
Makes sense.
Lack
And then,
of hands.
yeah.
But we'll get there.
It won Best Picture, Best Actor in a Leading Role, and Frederick March was not present at the award ceremony, so Kathy O'Donnell accepted the award on his behalf. Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Harold Russell.
You know, there's his name twice.
He won 2 Oscars.
With the same role.
Yep. Best Director, Best Writing for the Screenplay, Best Film Editing, and Best Music Scoring of a Dramatic or Comedy Picture. Those are the 7 Oscars that it won.
Mm-hmm.
And the Golden Globes, it won 2. It won Best Picture, and then it won, Harold Russell won another award. For best non-professional acting. So he's not a professional actor.
Nope.
And he was in this movie.
He's a war veteran.
Yep. Then the BAFTA Awards. Best Film from Any Source, U.S. The Bodil Awards. Best American Film. The Cinema Writers Circle Awards. Best Foreign Film. Because it wasn't made... It's not a,
Well, the awards
The
is in
awards,
Spain.
yeah. That's what I was trying to get out, and it didn't work. Because it is an American film.
Yeah.
But it won this award in Spain.
There we go.
There we
Got
go.
it.
That's what I was trying to say. Okay. The Karlovy Vary International Film Awards, Best Director, Honorable Recognition for the Screenplay, and then a couple more here. National Board of Review, Best Director, Top 10 Films, National Film Preservation Board, National Film Registry, the New York Film Critics Circle Awards, Best Film and Director, Online Film and Television Association. It's in the Hall of Fame for the motion picture. And your initial thoughts?
I actually really liked it. This actually reminded me, and this sounds sentimental, but it reminded me of spending time with my grandfather, who actually was a World War II veteran, and just talking to him about all this stuff. So, brought back some happy, sentimental memories for me. So,
I don't know what war my grandfather was in. I just know I went to his college graduation when he was a lot older, because they paid for him to go back because he had to quit college to go to the war. Whatever war it happened to be at the time. I don't know what war it was. I was too young to realize it.
that's still cool, though.
Yeah. I just remember going to his graduation. My initial thoughts... So I watched it in high school in my film class, which I considered nap time class. So I watched about half of the movie at that point. I was only awake for half of it. That's why there was times when I was like, I think I've seen this before. Yeah, I think I've seen this before.
Yeah, the whole thing, she's like, wait a minute. Then she remembered one line, she's like, oh, okay, I've seen this.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
just one line did it.
But this second time I watched it, I liked it. And I actually paid attention to most of it. I was falling asleep for a little bit.
Earlier?
Yeah.
Of
At the
course.
beginning, because I remember the beginning.
Oh.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Alright, that was your warning. If you haven't watched the film yet, then stop listening till you've watched the movie.
It starts off at this airport, and this guy, his name's Fred.
Yep.
Derry. He's trying to get home to Boone City.
Boone.
Boone City, which made me giggle, because there's a Boone actually, like, right, not even, like, 10 minutes away from where I used to live. Boone? Okay.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's a small little town. But that made me giggle. Alright, so he's trying to get home. He can't get home, so he has to go to, what was it, like this, the armed forces little thing he went to?
Yeah, the Armed Forces airport.
Yeah. And he gets to, he meets Homer
Yep.
Parrish, who is he has, you don't know it right away, but he has hooks for
Yeah.
hands because he lost them in the war.
Yep.
He's a sailor. I noted that. He's a sailor.
Yep, he is a sailor. And they both get on a plane to go home. And there's another guy on the plane who is Al.
Yep.
And he is a sergeant in the infantry
Yep. And Fred is a captain.
in the Air Force.
Yes, and of course.
So they are all 3 different branches. 'Cause
Different
the
branches.
infantry is the army.
Yes, and they're all different countries, too.
Yep.
They were at.
And so they're on the plane, and Homer wants to go to the nose of the plane to see the view.
He doesn't.
He's never seen it before.
He said, I would be the first one in my family to ride in an aeroplane.
Yep, an aeroplane.
Aeroplane, which I thought was cute.
And Fred doesn't really care because he was in the Air Force.
He
so
was flying around in planes
he's
all
like,
the time.
I've seen this before, but it's still neat to look at, is what he said. Something like that.
That's true.
And Homer is superstitious because he lights Fred and Al's cigarettes. But
Yeah.
then he asks, is anybody superstitious? And they say, no, go ahead. Meaning, I guess, go ahead and light yours.
Yeah.
But he puts it out. He says, I am, and puts it out. And then lights another match.
Yeah. Which I thought is interesting.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
I haven't either. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So they finally get home. And
They're in the taxi cab.
taxi. And they drop Homer off first.
Well, one thing I noticed was when you view them in the rearview mirror, they look so far away. Like when the point of view is coming from them up towards the front of the car. If you look at the rearview mirror, they look like they're 20 feet.
That's how a lot of these older films are, actually.
Well, because technically at that point they were, because they had to fit the camera in there because those cameras were huge. So it wasn't actually a real car.
It's
It was
not
like
a real car.
torn apart car to make it look like a car.
Exactly. That's the only way
I just
they
thought
can
it
do
was funny.
Yeah, that's true. So they drop Homer off first.
Yep. And he said he wants to go back to Butch's, which is his uncle's bar type thing. Which they weren't really called bars at that point.
It was just his place.
Yeah, his place. He's like, oh, we can go back here before we go home. And Al says, you're home now, kid. And then he gets out and goes and greets his family. His little sister, I'm guessing it was, runs out to greet him.
Yeah, it's his sister.
And he's kind of hiding his hooks at this point.
Yeah.
And then they finally see his hooks, and his mom starts crying, and his girl is like wide-eyed, and his little sister's just staring, and his dad's like trying to get them all to stop.
I mean, it'd be pretty awkward. It's like people just staring at your lack of hands.
Yeah.
I can see why. He'd be all self-conscious about it.
And then the next person to go home is Al.
Yep.
And they're all very nervous before they get out of the car.
Yeah, they
They're
don't
all-
know. They don't know what to expect.
Yeah, they don't know if the people are going to remember them. Because at this point, they've probably been away for...
Couple years at least.
I'd say at least 2, but probably no more than 6.
I'd say a few years at least, yeah. Definitely.
They've been away long enough. And this isn't like the military today. They were gone the whole time. They didn't get leave. They couldn't come home.
No.
Because they were in a huge war. It was the World War.
Yeah, that's true.
They were fighting Germans and Japanese. And then, so Al goes home and he walks in, and his son is the one that answers the door.
Yes.
And his son's about to yell, "Dad's home," or something like that.
Yeah, and he covers his mouth.
Yep. And then so the older sister comes out, and she's about to yell, but he covers her mouth too. And then Mom's like, well, why aren't they saying anything?
Yeah.
So she comes out, and she's all excited to see her husband.
Yep. Which I thought was very sweet.
Yeah.
They stopped and stared at each other, and then they were, met.
Yeah.
It was, happy. I was like, oh.
Yeah. The one thing that just... Even the first time I watched it, I know she was never up to anything. I know she wasn't ever, cheating on him. But the way her face looked throughout the film, it looked like she was hiding something. Just, to me, that's what it looked like. Even the first time I watched it.
Really?
It looked like she was hiding something. Because anytime he would say something, or anytime anybody else would say something, she'd just have this look that said she knew something that everybody else didn't, or she had something she was hiding. That's just the way it looked to me.
I don't know. Maybe it's just how she looks. I don't know.
That's probably, I've never seen her in anything else that I can remember.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, she was, back at that time, she was a pretty famous actress.
Yeah.
So after that, well, actually, like, it's kind of cool. Al lives in, like, this really nice, like, what do you call it? Like an apartment? Or it's got a lot of...
It is an apartment, but it's, like, it's a big one. It's got, like...
It's really nice. It's got,
maybe like, 8 rooms.
A lot of rooms.
So it's one of those big apartments.
Yeah. Then, finally, Fred gets dropped off. He gets dropped off at his parents' house, which is, like, this little...
You can't really see all of it, but from the porch view, you can tell that it's kind of a older house.
Yeah, it looked kind of run down to me.
Yeah. Which tells you... Because, so... Homer gets home, and he's kind of in a nicer neighborhood, and I'd say his family's, like, at this, what we would call middle class.
Agreed.
And then Al gets home, and he'd be what we call upper class, and then Fred gets home, he'd be what we call lower class. So there's one of everybody in there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, too.
Just based on their living arrangements.
Yep. Good observation. So Fred gets there, and he's talking, and he finds out his wife doesn't live there anymore.
Yeah, she moved out and got her own apartment.
Works at a nightclub.
Yeah. On his $500 a month pay from the army. Or the...
Or her money she makes at the nightclub, and the money she
he's
gets
getting from the Air Force.
Yeah. I don't like her.
She's the definition of vain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like her. So then it goes to... Throughout the movie, it always switches to, like, different, like, characters they're focusing on. So then it goes to Al, and he's giving his son, like, these things he got from Japan.
Yep.
He said he gave his son a samurai sword and the Japanese flag that had all these...
signatures.
Yeah.
Like, good well wishes from family members of the owner of the flag.
Yeah. It's... When I kind of, like, I was like, I told Kat this, I said, I'm like, oh, my grandpa, actually, he was in that area, the Pacific, when he was in World War II, and he actually had got a samurai sword, too.
Yeah.
And I think he had a Japanese flag, too, I don't remember. But he did have a samurai sword. I did see that.
Sean's dad has some stuff from being... He was in Kuwait for a while.
Yeah.
He has some stuff from being over there. But it's at his house. And then you kind of see... Well, and then Al wants to go out drinking with the girls.
His wife and his daughter. Because his daughter's old enough.
Yeah, she's probably like 23-ish, I'd say. And
she's in her 20s.
His son is probably like 17, is my guess.
Yeah, they grew up on him, he said.
Yeah. You're not supposed to let him grow up. She's like, I tried to stop them, but they got away from me.
I'm like, well, that's... I'm like, I liked her. She had a good sense of humor.
Yeah. So they go bar hopping, essentially, because you see basically at different bars, and they just pop up the name of said bar or said establishment.
Yeah.
And then they end up at Butch's, which is Homer's uncle's place.
Yeah.
And they meet up with Homer and Fred.
Yes.
There.
And what was it? Oh, Al and Fred, they get drunk and everything.
Yeah,
and
very drunk.
It was funny. Butch, Homer's uncle, will not let him drink. He's like, he can only drink beer.
Yeah. Wouldn't let him have a whiskey. He ordered whiskey, and he's like, no, beer.
Beer.
Give him beer.
He's like, that's what uncles do for you. Look out for each other.
There's a point where Al is, like, super drunk, and he's dancing with his wife, but he, like, kind of looks at her all funny, like he doesn't recognize her.
Oh, yeah.
And she just goes along with it.
Goes with it.
He's like, oh, I can't tell my wife or something like that. And then she says, you didn't tell me you had a wife. And he's like, don't worry, this night will be just for us.
She just goes with it.
Yeah,
like,
she does.
nice.
She doesn't even care. She's funny throughout the whole thing.
Yeah. She's great.
And there's one point where the waiter comes up because Al's trying to order another drink.
Yeah.
But the waiter kind of motions, and so Al thinks he's trying to dance with him, so he stands up and starts dancing with the waiter.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you see is they're in the car dropping off Fred at his wife's house.
Or her apartment.
Yeah, apartment.
And he's like trying to
Ring the...
buzz in because he thinks the door is locked. And
Well, with those types of apartments, it normally
is locked. But
So you have to buzz in, but
yeah.
we find out later that this one was not locked.
No, he buzzes in. He's like he's drunk as
Yeah.
it is, so he didn't know. So he's like, they just kind of just put it back in the car. And,
Yeah, they put him back in the car and take him to their apartment, and he takes Peggy, which is Al's daughter. He takes her bed, and she sleeps on the couch.
Yep. And he has a bad dream too
Yep.
about the war, which
My guess is about one of his bombings that didn't go well.
yeah, that's
That's
what I
what
was
it
thinking.
seemed like.
That was some first signs of PTSD there.
Hmm
Of course,
And they all show different symptoms of the PTSD.
I did notice that too.
They don't all show the same thing. They all show different ones.
Like the bad dreams, the elusiveness, like hiding out from everybody.
Yeah, the drinking. Al does a
Drinking.
lot of drinking. He's drunk almost the entire movie.
Yeah, he's drunk a lot.
Except for when he's at work, he's drunk. It seems like.
Kinda. That's one way to deal with it, so
Yeah.
I guess that works.
And then the next kind of major thing you see is Al is offered to be the vice president of small loans. And he's offered $12,000 a year, which is like $150,000 now.
Yeah. I did the inflation calculator. And I was like, because she's like 12,000. I'm like, well, back in 1946, I'm guessing that's a lot of money.
I figured that. I was just saying.
So I did the math.
Yeah.
Not really. My phone did the math. But
Yeah.
yeah. And before Alec goes to the bank, Peggy has to drop Fred off at his wife's apartment.
Oh, yeah. Peggy drops him off on her way to the hospital where she works.
Yep.
And he's like ringing the buzzer. And nothing happens. And then this guy just walks in.
Yeah.
And he's like,
walks
oh.
in. He's like, okay, later.
Gotcha. And he waves goodbye. And then he goes in and you meet his vain wife.
Oh my god, this woman just irked me the moment I saw her. I was like, oh god. You know.
She's very happy that he's in his uniform, and then when he gets civilian clothes and is not wearing his uniform, she's all mad at him about it.
Exactly.
She expects him to constantly wear his uniform.
He doesn't want to, because that, you know,
It's
not in
a
there anymore.
reminder.
Exactly.
Also, it depends on the branch, but some of them aren't even allowed to wear their uniforms if they're not working.
Exactly.
Like, Army, they can wear theirs if they're not working. Marines cannot.
Nope.
There's another one that can't. I don't remember which one it is.
I can't think of it.
I don't know.
But the uniform thing, this kind of brings back to my grandfather. He actually, as soon as he got home from the war, and he was with my grandmother and their farm, he immediately went out into the field and buried his uniform. He did not want to be reminded of it at all. So, that was his way of dealing with it.
Gotcha. My father-in-law, he has his uniform. He has two. He has one that he wears now for Marine things because he's still very involved. Even though he's retired, he's still very involved in all the Marine stuff. So if he goes to, like, the Marine ball,
Yeah.
he wears his uniform. But the one that he wore during his service is in a shadow box.
Huh.
Hanging up on the wall in the basement. With all of his medals and everything.
My grandfather also, when he buried his uniform, he buried all of his medals he got too. So
I don't know what my grandfather did with his. And Dan, my step-grandpa, he was in the Army, but I don't know what he did with any of his stuff. Because he has nothing signifying it. So.
Probably did what my grandpa did.
Yeah.
Just buried it or burned it or did whatever with it.
Yeah. Everybody deals with it different ways.
Yep.
Fred and his wife are constantly fighting about money because she's upset that he's not making as much money as he was when he was away in the military.
Yes. She's always bitching, saying, "Oh, he's only making $32.50 a week."
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's better than nothing.
Yes, it's better than him just sitting around the house like you're doing nothing. Which I realized that's what women did at that point in time, but still.
But she didn't like that because she was independent for years.
Yeah. She did have a job during that time.
Yes.
And one of Fred's lunch breaks, Peggy had come to visit him at the drugstore that he works at, and they went out to lunch, and then he's walking her back to her car, and as they are getting ready to leave, he kisses her.
Yeah. They've been, like, flirting pretty much the entire time.
Yeah.
So, I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
That's true.
I remembered that happened. I remembered that whole relationship. I remembered that. The one I didn't really remember was Homer and Wilma. I didn't remember if they got married or not.
No. Yeah, Homer gets just frustrated because he doesn't know how. He just wants people to treat him like they did before.
Yeah.
Before he lost his hands. And so he doesn't know really how to communicate that to everybody. But
He's kind of avoiding Wilma in communicating that. He's not talking to her about it. And then finally, he does, because she comes over, she saw that he was awake because his light was on, because she lives next door.
Yeah.
Which I guess they grew up together, next door neighbors.
They did.
Is what it seemed like. So she comes over and is like talking to him. She's like, I just want to know. I want to see what it's like. And he's like, you don't want to see. It's not good. I'm helpless. And so he goes upstairs and shows her. Like, he takes off. About halfway up to his elbow is where it goes.
Yeah.
Where he lost his hands. He still has his elbows, though.
Yeah, he says that. He's like, I'm glad I have my elbows still.
He said he was lucky
to
still have them. Because he can still maneuver very well.
Yeah, he just can't.
Yep.
Grab things.
Well, he can grab things.
I mean, with regular hands.
He does a very good job of grabbing things. Just there's times when he has a hard time with it.
That's true. Oh, yeah. The dinner with the owl.
Oh, yeah, go for it. You love
that
part.
That part made me giggle. So, they have a dinner in the bank that he works at, have a dinner in Al's honor, and...
Of his promotion, pretty much.
Yeah, and him coming back and everything. And at dinner, his wife is marking on the table how many times he takes a shot. And, goes up to, 5 or 6
I think she's at 6.
Yeah, and he has to give a speech.
Yeah. He's just kind of going on and on about it.
He had a lot of shots in him by then. That made me giggle. I was like, she's barking on the table.
And, while Minnie, I think her name is, or Millie, one of the two, Al's wife, while they are at the dinner, Peggy and her date went out with Fred and his wife because Peggy wants to not be in love with Fred, but she is. And she's hoping that this will stop when she sees that he's happy with his wife, but he's not happy with his wife.
He's not at all. Nope.
And his wife is hanging on Peggy's date more than she's hanging on Fred the entire time.
She doesn't even sit by him.
No. She dances with him for a little bit when they're both dancing with their respective partners, but then they go back to the table and she takes Peggy's date to go dance.
Yeah.
And Peggy and Fred are left back at the table, and they discuss what had happened previously about the kiss after their lunch.
Yeah. But then, like, after the evening, and they're back at, Peggy, Millie, that's her name.
Millie,
Right,
okay.
It is. Millie and Al are, back at
Their house.
their little house, apartment, whatever thing is. And
Just call it a house.
What's it called? House. Okay, cool. And Peggy comes in. She's like, "Oh, I love Fred, and he loves me, and I want to break up their marriage." And her parents are like, "Don't do it."
You want to be a homewrecker?
They're like, "Don't do it. That's not a good idea."
And so Al goes and talks to Fred at Butch's.
Yep.
And basically has him break up with Peggy.
Yeah.
Tell him that can't see him anymore.
Yeah. And Fred calls Peggy and
Yep.
everything.
Then you see Peggy upset about it. She's talking to her mom. She's upset about it. Tells her mom what Fred said. And then Fred is at work, and Homer comes to visit him. And there's a man sitting next to Homer at the soda counter. The
Yeah.
soda fountain counter. Which is basically like the little diner inside the drugstore.
Yeah.
Is basically what it is. But they were called soda fountain counters at that point. That's what they were called.
Yeah.
In all the old movies, that's what they're called.
Yeah.
Or all the movies that are based in that time. That's what they were called. He sits there and he's saying that we went to war with the wrong people, that we shouldn't have been fighting the Japanese and the Germans, that they should have been fighting the American government.
It's like, oh god.
And he's like, you do realize who you're saying this to, right?
It's like you're saying this to two veterans. One who lost his hands in the war, for God's sake.
Yeah, and so Fred hears him saying this, and Homer's like already getting upset, so Fred tells him you need to pay and leave. And the guy sitting at the counter doesn't realize that Fred is also a veteran.
Yeah.
He just thinks he's a soda fountain guy. Because he says, the nerve of these soda fountain kids, or something like that.
He's not really a kid.
Yeah, he says something like that. They're probably the same age.
Probably.
But of course I call people that are like a year younger than me kid.
Yeah, that's true. I can do that too. So wonderful.
So they both, Fred and Homer, get in a fight with this guy about it. And Homer's like, if I still had hands, and he's like trying to get him with his hooks, and then Fred comes over and kind of slightly pushes Homer out of the way, but then punches
Yeah, that was a good
the
punch.
guy into the perfume counter.
And he's like, yeah, and I know, the customer's always right. I'm leaving.
Yeah, he's like, but this customer wasn't, but I'm leaving anyways.
Yeah, he quits.
And after that is when Wilma and Homer have their discussion. And Homer actually, because at this point, he hadn't hugged Wilma. Like, she's hugged him, but he hasn't wrapped his arms around her. And he finally does, because he realized that she's going to accept him.
Yes.
For what he is now, not what he used to be.
Exactly. So he felt much better about that. He's all happy. They're like all lovey-dovey.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And on the other end, you see Fred comes home and
There's the man.
there's a man in the apartment with, is her name Marie? His wife?
Yeah, Marie.
Yeah. And then she just like, they have like this huge little argument, and she pretty much tells him she's leaving.
Yeah, she's like, I want a divorce. Because she wants someone who's rich, not someone who can't afford to take her out to dinner every single night.
Every night. This woman's very vain.
Yeah. So Fred leaves, starts to leave, and he's at the airport, and he's waiting on the first available flight, which happens to be at 8 p.m. And so he's walking around the airplane graveyard, and he gets in the plane, and he's kind of having a flashback. You don't see it. You just kind of hear it. He's kind of mumbling to himself, and you hear the music get kind of tense. And this guy's like yelling at him, "What you doing in there?" And he's like, you're just gonna junk them anyways. And he's like, no, we're repurposing them. And so he gets a job. Repurposing airplanes into houses.
Calls it the junk business.
Yep, the junk business.
Yeah, and then we get Homer and Wilma. They get married.
Yep, they're getting married.
Wilma's parents' house.
Yeah.
That's where I figured where it was.
Yeah, because it didn't look like the house we had already seen previously that was Homer's.
Yeah, it looked like Wilma's parents.
Yeah. And while Homer and Wilma are saying their vows to each other, Fred and Peggy keep looking back and forth at each other.
Yeah.
All lovingly.
Lovey-dovey, just staring at each other. It's like, oh, so romantic.
And then the wedding's over and everybody, except for Fred and Peggy, crowd around Homer and Wilma and are like congratulating him. And then Freggin.
That is her couple name now.
Freggin! Freggin is born. And that's the end of the movie. Freggin is born.
Freggin is born. It doesn't make any sense. Lord,
it's not even it's 11 o'clock. That's not even the latest we've ever gone, and can't even talk.
No.
Freggin is born. I'm putting that in the summary for this episode. Freggin is born.
I'm tired. Cat's tired. Let's just.
Alright, so music is where we're at now.
I actually really liked the music.
Yeah, it
fit really well.
Every moment that needed something, like to pull at you or calm you or whatever, it was great. The music was right on what it needed to be. I looked and I couldn't find anything specific about it. I think there was quite a few different composers, not just one.
Yeah, I was having a hard time finding stuff too.
So I just kind of left it. There was probably a music director and then several composers under said director. Trivia.
Oh, trivia.
Trivia.
Hold up. It's right here. Okay, I found my trivia. So, the director actually served as a major in the Army Air Force during World War II and incorporated his own wartime experiences into the film.
That's probably why it was so authentic.
It is. And a lot of, the filming crew was made up of veterans.
That's cool.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Let's see. Another one about the director. There's a lot about the director for some reason. Alright, so the director, he was actually almost deaf from flying in a B-25 that had an anti-aircraft shell explode near it. So he had to sit behind the camera with a large set of headphones that were connected to an amplifier so he can hear.
Interesting.
And then we mentioned this with the awards earlier, that Harold Russell is the only actor to win 2 Academy Awards for the same role. Because they thought, we'll give him an honorary Oscar because we think he's a long shot to actually get his
own Oscar.
His own Oscar. And then, boom. He got the best supporting actor.
He is the guy who, he played Homer. He was not originally, he's not an actor.
He's not an actor.
Which is why he got that best supporting role for someone who's not, or something for a non-traditional actor. Non-professional actor, that's what it was. Yep, for best non-professional actor. That's there's literally labeled special award.
Yeah.
His Golden Globe.
The director found him when he was watching some film about, wartime, veterans and stuff, and he's like, that guy.
And he did a really good job. There was a couple times where you could tell that he was not a professional actor, just from the way he delivered a couple of lines. But he did a really good job.
I was like, his hooks are so cool because they turn different ways.
Well, when you told me that at the beginning of the movie, before, when the credits were rolling at the beginning, because that's how you told me that, and that kind of sparked. I was like, I've seen something with someone with hooks for hands instead of having hands. And then I saw him and I was like, okay, he looks really familiar. And then I kept watching. I was like, oh yeah, I have seen this.
Hooks for the hands. I think that'll do it.
Yeah. Because I've never seen anything else except for Peter Pan. Or Hook. Literally, that's the only time that I've ever seen anybody have a hook.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's it. Alright, so where it has been on the list before, in 2010, it was number 169. It was not on the list in 2012. In 2014, it was number 194. In 2016, it was at 240, which is what it is on our list now. And at the moment, I do not see it. Oh, yep, number 245 is where it's at right now.
Oh, it dropped.
Yep.
It did drop.
And previously number 240 in 2010 was Harvey from 1950. 2012, Big Fish from 2003. The 2014 list, The Celebration from 1998. Of course, the 2016 list, The Best Years of Our Lives, same movie.
Huh.
And the list right now, as of the day we are recording, number 240 is 8.5, which is coming up, is number 236 on our list.
Is that a foreign film?
Yes. I think it's an Italian, is what you said.
I think so. I did mention, I was looking up the films that would be in a different language to, give us a heads up.
Yeah. Which I'll probably understand a little bit more of this one, because I did take Italian. So I know a little bit of it. So, favorite line?
I'm trying to think.
I have a few written down.
Go ahead, you first.
The first one I wrote down, Peggy. She's talking to her dad, and when he first gets home, she's like, I took a course in domestic science. It's housekeeping.
Yeah.
She took a course in housekeeping. It's called home ec.
Yeah, it's home ec.
I just thought that was funny. And then later, Al is drunk, and he's introducing everyone to Homer, and they see his hooks, and he goes, oh yeah. He says, Homer lost his hands, but they don't worry him, so they don't need to worry anybody else. I thought that was funny, as well as a great line.
It was.
About not messing with someone about their disability or injury from the war.
Yeah.
I have another one. Oh, Fred is showing his wife pictures from the war, and there's one where he's flying his plane and there's bomb clouds behind him, and she asks, what are those? And he said, little black flowers that grow in the sky.
Yeah,
I liked that one. And then when they're on their double date with Peggy and her date, Peggy's talking to her date, and they're talking about not all marriages have to be like that. And she's like, and she asks, like, what? And he says that there's nothing wrong with it except one slight detail. They don't like each other.
Yeah, I wrote that one down too.
Okay. That's my last one.
I have a few. I forgot who said them though.
Or might remember.
Okay, this one I know. This one was Al. He said, last year it's killed Japs. This year it's make money.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that
because he was talking about the job.
Mm-hmm. He was in Japan. That's why I recognized it.
Because that was his job at that point.
He was a banker before he went to the war.
Yep. He was a banker, and then he went into war, and then he came back and became a banker again.
Again. Another one I have is, it's terrible to be old, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I don't remember who said that. I think...
Was it Millie?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. Then I got
one. Oh, no, it was Al talking to Millie.
There we go. Yeah, I knew it was one of those two, because they're the older couple.
Yeah, they are the older couple.
And then the last one I have is, forget about the war and go fishing.
I think that was Fred.
Probably. I don't remember.
Or no, I think that was Fred's dad. No, that was Fred to Homer. he was giving him advice. Forget about the war and go fishing, and then marry Wilma.
Yeah.
That was his advice to him.
That just made me... I was like, ha! Nice.
It was before he left. It was when they were talking at the soda fountain counter.
There it is. Thank you.
Yep.
So what do you think?
I gave this... Oh, favorite line.
Yeah.
Skipping around here. I don't know. I really don't know. There's so many good ones.
It is. There's a lot of good lines in this.
I think the one that, like, kind of encompasses the whole movie is the one about Homer's hands.
I like it.
Okay, so I'll read it one more time. Homer lost his hands, but they don't worry him, so they don't need to worry anybody else.
It's a good line. Alright, what's your rating, Kat?
I gave this a 7.
A 7.
Yep, because I was falling asleep, but that's partially because I was tired. There's just a little bit too much romance in it for me, I think. But other than that, I liked it.
I give it a 7, too.
Okay.
Mostly because of that romance thing.
It wasn't a ton of romance, but it was just enough to drive me a little bit crazy.
Just to irk. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd give it a 7.
Boom. Look at that, starting to fill in the list here.
Yay!
You already saw my rating for the next movie that we're doing?
Is it the next one that's coming up?
Yep.
Oh, it is.
The next movie is The Help. One of my favorite movies. I am so excited.
She really
I
is
can just
excited.
write my notes down right now.
I
I've
know.
seen that movie so many times.
This is like me and Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
So, this is Kat's Beauty and the Beast, The Help.
No, I think that'd be Lion King.
You sure?
Yeah.
You like The Lion King more than The Help.
No.
Are you just comparing it because they're both cartoons?
Cartoons and musicals and Disney movies.
Okay, that makes sense. Alright, I'll give you that. I will give you that.
Yep, next time is The Help. So we are still running our contest. For every 10 written reviews, positive written reviews, we are going to use a random number generator to pick one person to join us on an episode. If you could give us a little bit of help in letting us know that you've done that review, just copy and paste your submitted review, email it to us. Because I get the email on my phone. I don't get the rest of it on my phone. I don't pay attention to it enough. I'm on here on the website and checking everything like once a week because I'm too busy to do it every single day. So make sure that you get your reviews in because it also helps us get some more listeners. Not that we're going to stop if we don't have listeners. We're having fun. So
No, we're just going to keep going. I mean, we have a lot of movies to go. Some
Yep.
of them we're really looking forward to.
Yep.
Like Cat.
Yep.
And The Help.
Yep.
And me and...
Finding Nemo! That was
Um,
good. I just remember us reading that earlier.
The Wizard of Oz.
Oh yeah, the Wizard of Oz is
Wizard
coming
of
up very
Oz is
soon.
coming up.
We
I'm
both like that
excited.
one. We
Woo!
both like that one. So yeah, make sure that you do that. We do have that is our contest, so make sure you take part in that.
So, where to find us? You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram now.
Instagram.
Cat and Jess Talk the Best. Our email is catandjesstalkthebest250@gmail. Our website is catandjesstalkthebest.podbean.com.
And you can find the show pretty much everywhere at this point. iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, Spotify. Podbean, of course, is where you're going to find all of the episodes at our website. And all the smaller podcatchers, you can find it there too. And our music, any music that we have previously or in the future, is by Audio Binger. You can find him on his website, which I believe is audiobinger.com. You can find him on Facebook, and his music is all on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
I think so.
Goodbye.
Bye. She has a porg.
I do have a porg. He's so cute.